Where's it at?
All right, guys, we'll go ahead and get started. It's
Where's
6
it?
o'clock,
Okay.
5:59.
Because that's correct.
I'd like to welcome everyone to our regular business meeting for the month of February. Welcome guests, town staff, and board members. Everyone had an opportunity to look over the agenda.
Motion approved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
All in favor? Deal. Public comments, we have two people signed up, Miss Lucy Dahl, to talk about events.
Only two this time, because there's no news on Old Timey Days, although if all of y'all want to volunteer, we would be happy to help you. We need volunteers for that. That's September 30th. The other one is on February 11th, which is Saturday from a week. I think you already have seen about the hot duck soup is going to be in here playing a benefit for the Burnsville Lions Club. And we just got some really good news yesterday, and that's that Dylan Wilson's going to be joining them. And we already had printed the posters, so that's not on there. So that's another good reason to come to that and bring all the money you don't want to spend on anything else. And we don't have a report on Thomas Wolfe Festival yet, but apparently there's a meeting coming up shortly, and probably next month we'll have some more succinct plans about that. On May 20th, which is a Saturday, it's National Adopt a Dog Day, so nothing like having Thomas Wolfe to celebrate your shelters. And it'll be Mitchell, Yancey, and Madison County shelters will benefit from this, and it'll be a dawn parade. So that's all I know right now, and thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. All right, this should be interesting. Danny McIntosh has put down Christmas, NASCAR, and EDC.
Lucy had a minute, 38 seconds left on the
Just
clock.
add it to it. That'll be fine.
Oh, well. Just a word about Christmas. The Bill and Jan Moore family moved here in 1998, and Jan had had an experience with First Baptist Church, Fort Lauderdale, with a Christmas pageant. And if any of you have ever been to West Burnford Baptist Christmas pageant, you know what a production that was, and she was the driving force behind that. Her memorial service was this past Saturday, and it's on the West Burnford Baptist Church Facebook page. And the creative team that was assembled to do that spoke at that, and if you're interested in that, you could view that. So that's my bit about Christmas. And NASCAR, I see that Yancey County native Tom Higgins is going to be inducted into the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame, and that's a Yancey County boy done good. And he covered every NASCAR race. He did an article, showed up on Monday. You could find the Charlotte Observer at Chevrolet Place or the Hilltop or over at the library or down at the courthouse and the sheriff's office and read what happened, because if Tom said it happened on Sunday, then that's what happened. But I think that's great that he's going to be inducted with the class of 2023. And EDC, I would be remiss to note that Jamie McMahon is not here, and he is going to make a move, and I'm sure y'all know that, but I think I'd be remiss without saying that I appreciate Jamie McMahon and what he has done with EDC. I've watched Jamie McMahon for years, and he is one of the most capable and competent people I have ever been around. When it comes to the spoken word, the written word, making a point, calming the rough waters and that kind of thing, Jamie's very good at that, and I think that he's certainly worthy to be mentioned. Brian, have I got any time left?
You got time left, 50 seconds.
Hey, look at that. I could come up with something else. No, I'm gonna let y'all have it. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Danny. All right, we'll move on to the consideration of minutes from our January 5th meeting. Everyone had a chance to look over those.
Make a motion to adopt the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Deal. There's no public hearing set for today. We'll move on to our presentations. Sewer line mapping, Ms. Tatiana McGee.
I also have a presentation. No, you're good. Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Tatiana McGee. I work with the High Country Council of Government. Some of you look really familiar. I've spent a lot of time in Burnsville the past 2 years. You've probably seen me either in a golf cart or in a work truck with the Public Works guys. But I'm here to just present the sort of like final products and some slight findings from the sewer mapping. So the High Country Council of Government was contracted by the county. I have successfully completed mapping of the stormwater system, fully completed mapping the sewer system, and I'm currently doing the water system. So it kind of gets more complicated as you go up. So I guess methodology-wise, I go out with a public works guy. For the stormwater was Jeff, and now so it's more so Matt. So they have the cultural and local knowledge of where things are located. So when I go out, I have a GNS pole. It's probably the pole that you see me carry with the big heavy thing on top. So I'm going out to all of these point locations, whether it's a stormwater discharge or a sewer clean out or a manhole, and I stand on top of it and I get centimeter accurate data of where the point is. Then it gets post-processed and put into our ArcGIS software, where I then manually create the sewer lines from point to point. So for the deliverables for this project, which I met with Heather a couple of months ago now to give her these deliverables, I gave 2 large printed maps, 2 map books, as well as an online web app. So the map books, you can go to the next slide. This is something that I used when doing field work, and we created 2 of them, so any public works employee that doesn't have access to the app also has access to the data in a printed form. So essentially we create these squares all around town, which also the project was not limited to town limits. It also goes outside of town limits.
Guys, feel free to move your chair around.
Yeah,
if
sorry.
if you can't see.
Don't hurt your neck.
Sorry about it.
So just for an example, there's what's highlighted in blue is just a square that says B9, if you go to the next slide. And essentially, if that's the area that they have a problem in, they're having a question about, or they're just curious of what's located there, they can refer to where they are on the map, then go to the corresponding page and get all of the same information that's on the app. The app does not run on Windows. You have to have iOS or use it online. So the town of Burnsville has, I think, 1 or 2 iPads that the Public Works guys can use. So again, that's also why we have the printed options available. Also just a personal preference. You can go to the next slide. So overall, there were 347 manholes, 456 cleanouts. So for all of those, I stood on top of them and got the information. So with the manholes, we open them up, we get the distance and the depth, we look at the pipe material, the pipe diameter, we get all of these attributes that is then put into the web app, but those attributes are not available on the paper form. The paper is more just a reference of where things are located. The red line that's separating Burnsville and East Yancey is more so we got the data for the right side from the McGill engineers. That's for reference, since we were contracted by the county with the potential expansion of the Burnsville sewer system, we just wanted to go ahead and put that data in there. But we were more so focused on what Burnsville actually maintains on the left side. This is kind of hard to see on the screen. But I wanted to create just some additional maps for Heather and the Public Works people, and for any potential future grant applications to know where they should focus their efforts in grant funding. So here I sort of dialed down the data into showing manholes that are only in poor and very poor conditions, focused more so on town limits. So the red is very poor, and you can kind of see where those concentrations lie. Next This is a map showing vitrified clay pipe, and that's the only thing that's a different color. We wanted to focus on that because VCP pipe usually tends to have more inflow and infiltration, which I put on the screen later on, but it's essentially groundwater or stormwater being put into the sewer system, which is not good. So again, VCP tends to have more of a relationship with I&I. And this is showing an overlap of VCP pipe and manholes and their conditions. So we kind of just wanted to see, do manholes in poor conditions have a strong relationship with having VCP pipe or not? And in that case, that is true in certain cases. In other instances, it's not necessarily. Thank you. And again, this is just more of a zoomed in view of that relationship between VCP pipe and manhole conditions. So you can see more so in the town square area where the infrastructure is a lot older and hasn't really experienced that many upgrades like other outer neighborhoods part of Burnsville. You can see that there are some manholes that are in poor and very poor condition that do correlate with having a VCP pipe that's older. In this one, I wanted to show the dates in which new sewer lines have been laid. That is something that is part of the schema, essentially. So we use Esri's local government data model, which is sort of like a standardized format for sewer information. So some of the parts of it aren't necessarily applicable to Burnsville or other towns or other cities, so it's kind of adaptable from there. And one of the attributes is when was the line laid down. And that's something where it's kind of been lost in time. So that's why working with the Public Works is really important, because they have that knowledge of, I've been working here for 25 years and I remember putting this in 2000 or 1980 or something like that. So we really relied on them. And on this one, I highlight sort of newer gravity mains and then manhole conditions as well, because similar to how VCP pipe is related to having manholes in poor condition, newer lines is related to having manholes in better conditions, which is overall true. Again, this is just the definition for I&I in case you all aren't as familiar, but I also wanted to create, Heather, a map where we're showing where manholes with suspected I&I lay in regards to flow lines like streams, creeks, and rivers. So you can kind of see, especially in the northern part of town as well as the southern part going down towards the wastewater treatment plant, there tends to be more I&I in lines that lie along the rivers and creeks. This is essentially showing the same thing, but with manhole conditions as well. So it looks like you all have access to it, so if you keep looking at it past this meeting and you have questions, you can feel free to email me as well. And then just a zoomed in version in regards to town limits about the condition of manholes and the ones that have suspected inflow and infiltration. This is the exact same thing, but showing it more so with VCP pipes, because all of these are attributes that tend to be really related. And in creating this product, we're not only allowing the Public Works guys to know the status and condition of the infrastructure and if people have questions, but it will also really leverage the town in future grant funding to fix the infrastructure in these more prone to issue areas. We are, in this one I'm showing strictly poor manholes with vitrified clay and IEI. So you can kind of see there tends to be a concentration of that in the northern parts of the town. And again, if you have any questions, that's my email. Feel free to email me. I'll also still be here mapping the water system. Do you all have any questions right now? And thanks to Shane and all of the Public Works guys.
Shane did.
I would be lost.
That was more Matthew and Jeff than anything.
Yeah, they have a lot of patience with me.
So I do have one question.
Mm-hmm.
On the I&I end of it, are you basing that only on the condition of that being clay pipe? I mean,
No.
so I'm just curious, is there sections that there's no I&I, even though you have clay pipe, or you know
Yeah.
for sure that we're getting I&I and all those?
The clay pipe is more of like a more obvious yes and no, like is this pipe clay? You can easily say yes and no, while I&I is a little bit trickier. So in regards to putting yes for I&I is whenever there is a large amount of flow that's not normal. So there were some manholes with a lot of flow that were tested for chlorine. A couple of them came back yes, and a lot of them came back no. So it kind of is hinting that there's some stormwater or groundwater that's getting into it, and it's not necessarily tied with the water
That was my
system.
question, so you were actually measuring flow, not just the condition of the
Yeah,
pipe?
it's like some of them was like this was a lot. You would see one manhole and it just had a little bit of flow, and then you'd go to the next one like 400 feet down, and there's like looks like a
You
stream.
know that
Yeah.
it's
There
stormwater.
isn't the consistency there.
Very, very good presentation.
Tatiana has shared all this information with Withers Ragnell, who is working on our CDBGI to rehab all the sewer line from the west side of the square down to the plant, and also with McGill, who's working on our new CIP and asset management plan, and also the ARPA grant that we got for the east side interceptor. So they have this very up-to-date information now to see where I&I is most prevalent.
Very good. Anyone else have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Police Public Works Building, Mr. John.
So I got a little presentation board, and I'm gonna try to leave it so you guys can see it, and we've talked before. Okay, so you have this on digital. So I appreciate you guys having me. My name is John Arno. I'm an architect, and I've been working with Heather, Shane, and Brian, Russell, and a group of you to put together strategies and work through getting us to a detailed, permittable, constructible design for the renovation of the police station, Public Works Department, of the existing fire station to accompany these. And so when I came on a couple months ago, we've been working together for a couple months now, they had just completed a sort of schematic study with the university in partnership with their IDEX lab for what could benefit the police department, the public works department, and how we could retrofit the existing facility at 118 North Main, the old fire station, to house these. And so, they'd done an early level schematic study, which was great for me kind of on my end, because that's sort of the first step of an architectural review is the schematic study, understanding the program, the uses of space, and the existing infrastructure that we want to reuse. So for me, architecturally, that was, initially engaged, and they had interacted with the guys in the town a couple times, questions back and forth to determine the program. And so I was able to pick the project up and move into a more detailed code compliant review, reviewing the design for things like accessibility, egress, constructability, that type of stuff. And we've even met in December to kind of go through the changes I implemented, getting proper exit and egress to the building, and the little changes of what you guys wanted to see more. And so we've arrived at this design. I'll talk through a little bit. And so it's the existing fire department in 118 North Main, and that building's kind of broken down into two halves. Over here is the original part of the building, which we're going to inhabit with office space to serve the two departments, and then the old new addition is the garage bays on this side of the building, which will continue being garage bays to serve the police department, squad cars, and the vehicles of the reserve vehicles of the Public Works Department. The police station will inhabit the upper floor. That's the floor facing North Main Street. And our kind of architectural strategy there, at least on the facade levels, remove two of the existing garage doors, come back with aluminum storefront infill to create a public-facing sort of conference room, and adjacent to that, new storefront infill to create entry into a secure reception vestibule in this area. And behind, through the secure door, you'll have access to the police department, where we're able to add 2 public offices, 6 to 8 workstations for officers in and out, and then the much needed resources of a small armory. We've had a lot of conversations about the evidence storage and evidence processing facilities that are needed and kind of up and coming, and then a secure access to an interview room from the squad, private secure access. That area is served by a small copy workstation and pantry, which is then supplemented by a larger workroom, map room, break room on the ground floor. The ground floor facing kind of Road Street would be the home of the Public Works Department, where we're able to add 4 private offices. Again, I mentioned kind of the public space of the workroom, which will serve as the kind of the mapping and map storage area, as well as a meeting and training room, and sort of back of house space for the public works guys, because we've added a mud room with locker storage facility, a restroom, some laundry, sort of the back of house staff meeting room, and then we're maintaining the reserve bay, where we're including a parts cage, storage, racking, and shelving for that type of stuff. So, and then on the Road Street side, we're also treating the facade very similarly, coming back in where there were existing garage doors with storefront to bring light access into the space, and a small reception area, and all the doors and entries are covered by pre-manufactured aluminum canopies as well now. Heather asked me to talk a little bit and help color some expectations for next steps, where we go with the project, and how we proceed from here. Looking at the project as a whole, the architectural scope, this kind of design we're talking about, the renderings and stuff is largely done. The next step would be moving into detailed systems design, which is, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, structural, civil. There's a handful of things that require consulting engineers. So in terms of my scope working with you guys, we would really be, I assume these drawings are going to circulate. There may be some little changes, so we would have sort of an in-sequence time to review those as we release engineers for this detailed engineering design. And from there, once you have detailed engineering design, we can move into construction, procurement, bidding and negotiation, and then ultimately construction administration from there. What does this mean kind of in terms of cost? And generally, I will say that that's totally something that's in the realm of the contractor to assign those numbers and stand by them, but looking at similar projects, work going on, and kind of rules of thumb, we think the project is, in terms of construction, probably about a $2 million project. And backing out from there in terms of soft costs, that's the fees associated with that, the engineering, the detailed system design, surveys, all the stuff that goes into it, probably looking at about, I think, in the ballpark of $200,000, whether that's one full service firm or a handful of smaller contracts to, deal with mechanical, electrical, plumbing, that type of stuff. Next steps to move forward with that. So there is some determining with these kind of budget numbers in mind, determining how the project's going to be funded and financed in terms of the state and the county. It's kind of through you guys. Also, we would need to determine the procurement method for the project, because as we release detailed engineering, there's different amounts of design and sort of order of operations if it's going to be a hard bid project or an RFP for CM at risk type thing or design build project. So determining that before we move forward with engineering will be our kind of big next step along the way. As a whole, I think the town has a lot to be excited about with this project. I'm certainly excited and want to continue to serve as a resource and champion for the project with you guys. I think the background of starting with the kind of service-based collaboration with the University of the IDEX lab to work with you guys in detail, put a lot of effort in the project to get these high-level strategies for the layout and utilization of the existing facility is great. I think it ends up with a great, efficient use of the town's existing infrastructure that should add value to not only the departments of the police station and public work, but hopefully the town as a whole. Kind of tell you guys a little more about the building or answer any questions?
Pie in the sky, time to build it.
Time to build it. So there's a couple time frames you got to look out for in there. Actual construction, I would say probably about a year, but that's actual construction. So there's completing the engineered design beforehand, which, you know, we have to leave our consultants time to do that work and time to actually get it on their calendar. Is, you know, we're not under contract with anybody for these things yet. So I'd say if we were to, you know, kind of pull the trigger and move forward right now, I think a realistic expectation would be going out for bid or for RFP toward the end of the year, which would give us the majority of the year to both get on the calendar of consultants and have the work done. But that does, there's a lot of parties in there that have to have things lined up together. So I guess that's 2 years for a project as a whole, 1 year to get through consulting, 1 year to do construction.
You have any other questions for John?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, John.
I just had, Mr. Mayor, just for some direction going forward, I think in terms of looking at potential funding options, grants, earmarks, whatever, that we probably are gonna need to have some more hard figures than just sort of a rough overall estimate. Have somebody look at the plans that John has prepared and give us some kind of idea as far as construction costs would go. And I just want to touch base with you guys and see if you're still on board with me and John, you know, looking at that, contacting he has some contractors that he can contact that could possibly just give us an estimate.
Sure. I think we do need some hard numbers, and that way we know what to shoot for.
Right.
Sure.
And I think initially that's kind of soliciting interest, reaching out to folks who have an background in some public work, can work in the area, look at it, and, you know, getting the detailed estimate may take onboarding somebody or getting to a hard bid, but I think bringing on interested parties will, you know, when you get to the RFP, hard bid, have some folks who are a little bit vested and interested in the project, and as well, if somebody has experience and is interested in the project, can probably help us work through. Similarly, we've done this type of work. Here's how things are stacking up today. Here's where we think it's going to be.
Sure. So do you need a motion?
I don't know that I need a formal, I mean, just, if y'all wanna make a motion, you can, but I want some direction, you know. I know we've gotten sort of to a stage where we've got to move to the next stage, and I wanna make sure everybody's still comfortable with doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to go look for funds when you don't know exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, how much you need.
I mean, I'll make that motion if you want.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
All right, Dr. Boyd with the Mainland Community College update.
Thank you. It's been a while since I've been over, but I'm trying to get around to the towns now. As Randy knows, I regularly attend the county meetings, but anyway, so just some quick updates with the Ansbach building over here. That is just running full speed over here. We've been doing a lot of rapid prototyping with our 3D metal printers, particularly with BRP, but we're doing a project right now with Glen Raven, so we do quite a bit with that. We operate a rapid prototype center out of that facility, and the rapid prototype center is run quite a bit by students who we do work scholarships. So we do about 3 work scholarships every year for that building. What that means is that students get free tuition and fees. They have to work 16 hours a week, but we're paying them $15 an hour while they work. So it's a pretty good deal. And so we do quite a bit of that over here. If you've been by there lately, you've seen the parking lot. And so we're waiting on the striping on that so we can go ahead and get it open. And we're starting to explore now how we add more classroom space, maybe another building. And over here, there's there's classroom space we're wanting to add, and we're also now looking at starting to build a program that would be housed over here that would be on meat cutting. And so we would actually have meat processing plant. And that is a high demand, and we'd also include then a storefront with that. I'm going to talk about Earth to Sky Park, but I'll talk about a couple other things first. Just a couple of projects that aren't in Burnsville, but are in the neighboring town, but impact Burnsville. And one is our hotel, the Blue Ridge Boutique. That's fully open with 32 rooms. We're now doing landscaping project with that. That will include 5 fire pits. It's the old Pine Ridge Hotel that we have been doing. And business has been pretty good. But it makes a nice place to get people off the Parkway and get them down here to explore other parts. We market it pretty heavy, and rooms are all named after features in the Blue Ridge here that covers mostly the 3 counties. And so it makes a good thing for that. We're getting ready to start building the kitchen for the restaurant as part of that. And the restaurant will also house our new culinary program for lunches. So we just got approval. We're adding a culinary program in August, and then the meal portion of that would be done out of the hotel. We've also over here started an industrial maintenance program, working with particularly the industries over here who said they need that. But it's a great program too for towns and counties as well. But industrial maintenance is a short course, and it's really designed to build to help a all-around maintenance person. So we do some welding in it, we do some plan reading in there, we do HVAC, we do electrical. We've got our first program running right now and with students from Glen Raven and Altech. And so it's a good class. Our 3 Peaks Enrichment Center, the old Coliseum, we're in full demo right now, getting ready to start construction on the YMCA. And the YMCA will go in there to include 2 pools that will come off the building. One will be Olympic size with 6 swimming lanes, so the high schools will be able to do swimming competitions. And then there'll also be a learn to swim area as well in there. Our Cosmo Center is open up in there. That's been doing well. We're still working out kinks with the construction. It's the project that never ends, but hopefully we'll get to an end. Our Resource Center for Entrepreneurs, which will house our Small Business Center, which we do a lot over here with that, is in construction and should open up in the next couple of months, we hope. As well as by August, we will have temporary occupancy within the event space. And eventually that event space will be a 2,000-seat event space. That will house large concerts and different things like that. And then the ESP, our Earth to Sky Park out here, we are, have any of you been to the Earth to Sky Park? Yeah. And so, our observatory, our International Dark Sky, we work hard to preserve that. And we are the only higher ed in the world that operates an IDA site observatory. And now that we've opened the planetarium, we're one of 2 IDA sites in the world that have both. And the other one you have to go to South Korea to visit. And we advertise this community pretty heavy, and particularly in our state and bringing in. The reality is that the observatory, 70 to 80%, when we go off of zip codes, because it's all tickets are bought online, 70-80% of the people that come to the observatory are driving 3 or more hours. That means most of them are staying either in a hotel or a bed and breakfast in the community when they come up here for that. And so that's been, it's a great resource for the region and the community. And I think Burnsville probably benefits off it a little bit more than anybody else. The planetarium, we're running full speed ahead on that. It's doing great. We've added a laser light show to it since our grand opening. And it's really been popular with particularly a lot of the local people. For example, at Thanksgiving time, we ran back-to-back shows with Pink Floyd on the Laser Light Show and sold out, 60 tickets each. And New Year's Eve, we ran back-to-back shows with Queen and sold out 60 tickets each. We had a large turnout this last weekend for the Beatles and all that. So it's really been a great show. We're working now on the last two buildings, which are the Child Discovery Centers. We've done the fronts of the buildings, and Alltech just named the engineering part of that. So these will be buildings that kids go into, and they can do hands-on things. For example, in the engineering building, our Rapid Prototype Center is building a Mars rover to scale. Or not to scale, but a scaled-down version of the Mars rover. So we'll have a Mars landscape with a rover running around on it, and kids will be able to help control the rover, things like that. And we've got from July through December, we had about 500 kids coming out there from different groups, school groups and camps and stuff like that. We get a lot from the Yancey schools coming out. And we're working right now on it's a minimal cost for them to come, but we're working on the scholarships for that. We've got scholarships for schools in the other two counties, and now we're working on Yancey as well, so that the kids can go free. And so it's a good program for that. Recently, we've been selected by the Huntsville Space and Rocket Center to be one of 5 planetariums in the country. They're building a special planetarium show for using the Webb telescope images. And so each month they'll put out a new show. And we are one of the 5 in the country that will, well actually 2, because they started out with 5 and narrowed it down to 2, and we're the final 2. And so you'll be able to go out there and see a special show of the Webb telescope, which should be pretty incredible. And so, as I said before, the dark sky is what makes this thing, because that's what puts us on these lists that people come for. And so, we're typically in the top 20 in the world of planetarium, or of observatories. We're the largest telescope in the southeast, and we're always in the top 10 in the country. And so that's why people find us. And they come from all over the country, in many cases on vacation because of that. And so I think sometime in September, we're going to host a program at the campus and invite particularly the towns in early on to come in and have some discussions on how to help create a dark sky community. And we hope the towns are interested in that. Dark sky tourism is one of the fastest growing tourisms out there right now. People want to be out there in that. And so we're not talking about regulating, we're talking about educating. But the more we can preserve that we have to do readings every year to maintain our certification. And so we sometime, I think the end of April, maybe 1st of May, we'll invite several of the town councils to come out with spouses and managers to attend a show, and we'll do a night out there. We'll do a special show in the planetarium, and then open up the observatory afterwards if people want to go up and stay. So we're working out days on that. Like I say, we're looking at probably the last week of April, first week of May, to help us in our planning. You guys get the first say on some of this. Is, I would think, either a Tuesday or a Thursday night. Do those nights sound generally good? It's hard to get, because we'll invite Burnsville, Spruce Pine, and Bakersville to come to that. And so it'll probably be a Tuesday or Thursday night. Those tend to be, Mondays aren't usually good, Wednesdays are not good, and weekends, Fridays and weekends are not good. So it doesn't leave a lot of days left, does it? But we are in one last thing on the hotel. I noticed that you're talking about apprenticeships tonight. We're working on an apprenticeship program for hospitality using the hotel as a base. And we do a pre-apprenticeship with high school students in the hotel to get them started, and then they would go out to places like Mountain Air or golf courses and other places in the 3 counties to finish their apprenticeship. We're trying to satisfy a workforce that is desperately needed in these areas. And so it's, so we're working on that as well. So we got a lot going on, a lot of construction going on. It seems like that's what I do now, is construction manager. And, but it's all good. It's all, everything we're doing is we believe will help our communities grow and thrive, both in tourism dollars, accommodation tax dollars, sales tax dollars. And so, you know, that's we see in our conversations as being a real need, along with the education, of course, which we tend to do very well. Is there any questions on anything? Okay.
I would like to say, back in '96, when we started talking about putting the Yancey campus out here, and we didn't know if we'd have the bodies. And now you looked at the parking lot, and now the second parking lot, both of them gonna be full.
Yeah, the foundation, the parking lot was a foundation project that we did.
Yeah.
And like I say, we want to add several classrooms over here, so another classroom building.
The building, you're aware the building's full most nights.
What's that?
The building's full most nights.
Yeah, building's full most nights. Parking lot was packed.
Yeah.
They were parking up at the health center and the senior center, and that, you know, created some
Friction.
problems, friction. And so we added, I think we'll have 42 spaces in there. And, you know, the great thing about what we're doing in almost all of our projects right now is that we're, particularly, you know, the smaller, we're serving as a contract manager, and we're doing a lot of subbing out to all local people. So we're hiring a lot of local people. We've probably spent about $7 million in the last few years just on local people, workforce. And, you know, keeps them here. And they spend their paycheck here. They make their living here. We've helped 2 small contractors now get unlimited contractor license because of the amount of work they've done. So, I mean, and that helps the community too, because when you start working on a project like this, if you can get local workforce, I'm going to tell you, the pride that they do with their work is so good.
Absolutely.
And the money stays there, and that's important. So, yeah, the whole project's here. You were part of the council or commission when we started the observatory too, and it's worked in. And if you haven't been out there lately, you never recognize the old building.
It's been a while, there you go.
Yeah, you never recognize.
Actually, we was
the old
talking about
buildings.
the other day.
So we're going hard at it, trying to make a difference. And like I say, especially with the ESP, I think, you know, you guys are the predominant winner out of that. So thank you. I appreciate all you do. I know it's a thankless job, but someone's got to do it. We're glad you're here to do it, along with Heather, of course.
Well, thank you for a great update. Sounds like you got a lot going on. And Tatiana, you and John and Dr. Boyd, if you feel like you need to leave, I know you have to drive a little ways. Feel free, or you're more than welcome to stay, obviously. All right, so we'll move on to Ms. Hockaday with the manager's update.
Okay, project update's gonna be short tonight. Our CDBGI design and bid package from Withers Ravenel went down to the state for their engineer review. They came back with a list of questions. I think most of those have been answered, but there is one technicality they picked out of the original application's project description. And so Michelle will be here next month with a public hearing where she has to read in new language and that sort of thing. They basically, I don't know why, because they had maps that show the entire project. that was surveyed by the engineers at Withers Ravenel, but they, for some reason, there's a provision in there that talks about the project being in the public right-of-way, and CDBGI only considers roads to be the public right-of-way, no matter the fact that we have easements for all of the lines, recorded easements for where the lines are going, so I think that had to be added in. So should we hear, and I just need you guys to make a motion to add that as a public hearing at the March 2nd meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
The next thing I have is the North Carolina, we're staying on our community college theme, apprentice program. So the North Carolina Community Colleges got a lot of money to do apprenticeship, what they have dubbed Apprenticeship NC. It's a registered apprenticeship program, and the funding is for rural counties. Katie Ledford, who works with Malin, had brought this to our attention, and we're glad she did. It provides $2,500 in educational expenses for apprentices that are brought on board. It will pay up to 50% of their salary, up to a $15 limit. There's $2,000 for uniforms or equipment, computers, stipends for mentors, and so we feel like a need. We need to be looking to the future of who's going to fill some of the positions that are moving along. There's not a requirement that at the end of the apprenticeship that anybody is hired on. They'll know that up front. But our first step would be to put together, and the staff's been working on this, Public Works, Police, and Finance, on job descriptions and basically a checklist that the supervisor will go through each time the person, the apprentice, reaches a milestone and checks off a competency. The education component, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, 1,000 hours of work.
For every, it's 2,000 per year.
2,000.
You get 2,000 per apprentice hours of work, and there's 144 hours of educational component. That's what that $2,500 goes to.
Right.
So each pathway is different. Most pathways for the apprenticeship are 1 year, 2,000 hours, 144 instructional hours, $25,000 with an extra $2,000. Police, really, the LAT pathway is the only one that's different, and that's double. So they get 4,000 hours, they get $5,000, $4,000, and they get 2 years plus of apprenticeship for that pathway.
Does that 144 come out of the 2,000, or is that an additional to the?
That's for every 2,000 work hours is what we call that. It's 144 instructional hours.
Okay.
So things that me and Heather and the rest of these nice folks have been working on for the last couple months is job descriptions that are going to qualify them for that 144. For example, I'm going to use Shane's. Shane, Public Works, they would like to do some stuff with water treatment and maybe a Public Works pathway. Shane said those certifications might only be 30 hours. And so we can come up with extra things. So some of the ideas that we come up with those job descriptions would be to take things such as first aid, CPR, maybe a basic math class. You know, that's where that community college comes in. They would be taking basic math. For every 3 credit hour class they take, that's 48 contact hours. So you start whittling off that. For Public Works, we even went into things such as, you know, maybe a Con Ed electrical class or a plumbing class or a welding class. Anything, they will pay for anything that will benefit that job to make that apprentice more employable, not only for you guys, but long term, right, if you want to retain them. And so there's a lot of options, but you just have to put it into that job description that's required. Pathways such as BLET, they're already getting 600 plus hours of instruction just to be certified. so you don't have to worry about that. Maybe a pathway for accounting, we talked about accounting or finance. So you could require them to get those 144 hours by requiring them to take basic business classes. You know, they could get 5 business classes, 5 curriculum business classes to get that 144 hours, and you're not paying anything. All that's going to be paid. Basically, a 3 credit hour course at Mainland is roughly $388. That's with your fees and everything. So you times that by 5, and you still have money for education if they want to take something else. Or if you need to supply them with uniforms, or if you need to supply them with work boots, or it's a great program. The only push is there is only $12 million. About $4 to $5 million has been earmarked. They've only distributed about 400,000. And so if we don't get in there, if we don't do this and get it earmarked and get it approved, you know, the money's going to go fast because it's such a great program. They're using it.
And it's for apprentices, well, ages 16 to 25. Corbin is our lone under 25-year-old.
He's your one employee.
He's our one employee that's under 25.
That might be a problem.
But it's a great opportunity, and Chad has worked, have an awesome job description. It's a great opportunity for Corbin to be able to go back and, as a current employee, expand, you know, his education, what he can do to help this, plus marketing, you know, website building, whatever. I mean, they've put a lot of effort into figuring out what different things would make his position even better. Not that it needs to be, but even better. Yeah. Yeah, so he's got plenty of time, but, you know, I think Brian has had some young men that have been interested in a sponsorship for BLET. We have some officers that are approaching retirement age, so this would be a good opportunity to get them in. Shane has position at the water plant available and also on the crew.
So on that, Katie, with the water plant, I understand like with the guys on the crew and with finance, there's classes offered through the community college.
Right.
With the things that they have to take to be an operator up here, that's not obviously, is that counted toward
Yeah, so
that?
basically the money is a reimbursement part with that job description. So one certification that Shane needs is a state certification.
Right.
So you guys would pay for that, and then that would be reimbursed through those funds. It's anything that is going to make that them better at their job. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be curriculum. That's why I'm kind of throwing out some of those Con Ed things. And Dr. Wood was just talking about some great opportunities like the HAVAC, you know, things of that nature that they can also take. But yeah, so it's a reimbursement. You guys are putting forth the money to begin with, and then once a month you're getting wages and educational funds reimbursed. And then you will have a county, not a town. There's going to be a county person that processes that. There's our small business office. And so basically Charlie has told me and other multiple times that reimbursement can go towards any class that you sign them up for. You get $2,500. It just has to go to educational expenses. The added $2,000 can go to, and I guess I'm remiss, I only have a couple of copies of this. The extra $2,000 per employee can go to program expenses, purchases of program equipment, costs associated with extra payroll, mentor stipends, insurance, training, uniforms, or safety equipment. So, you know, you're really getting $4,500 per apprentice, and then you're going to double that for your BLET.
Sounds like a no-brainer to me.
Right, that's what I'd be telling all these.
So are we in a rush to get this submitted or?
Yeah.
We have our, I think everybody, I know Chad does, everybody has their job descriptions ready to go in. We have the forms, we send them in to Mr. Charlie Millens, who's running this program on our end anyway. And he then will put them in the proper form and then submit them to the state. And once the state approves them, once we get that approval, then the money that would go to us has been earmarked, right?
Correct, it gets earmarked, and then you as an agency, nobody else, not Nayland, wherever, you would submit those names to Charlie to be apprenticed. Like, if you wanted to do Corbin, that's the best ideal, because the wonderful thing about this too is we were approved in December, so you can back date all the time that he's worked till December, and then start getting those wage reimbursements, which is half of his cost, up to $15 an hour in pocket. And then you can start the educational component that minute. But once you, basically you are earmarking a pathway. You're earmarking spots that says, we want 2 spots here for PD. We want 1 spot for Shane. We want 1 spot for Chad. Whatever.
So it's not an individual person, it's a spot.
It is like a pathway.
And then we would interview
And we
them.
might, if Brian put in for 4, we might get approved for
You get
1.
approved for a pathway, and then
So you
it's
get
based on
approved for all
money,
of them.
based on funds. And what they explained to us is like, if you have 6 people working at the water treatment plant, which I don't know how many we have, it's a 1-to-2 ratio. So basically, you could apprentice 12 people there, but realize that you are paying half those wages
Right.
up front. So Shane's people will have to work full-time, like they're gonna be a 40-hour-a-week employee anyway. So basically what that works out to be is you are getting wage reimbursement for 50 weeks if you're thinking about a full-time employee. If you're thinking about sending somebody to BLET where they're only going to school 20 hours a week to the night program, that's way longer, right? So you're going to be looking at 100 weeks. That's going to pay them to go to BLET and get certified, and then they're going to be certified and they're going to come work for you, and then you're going to get another $2,500 to outfit them. To me, I feel like I'm very passionate about it because I think it's amazing, but it's something you guys got to choose to do, because you are going to have each one of these individuals do the paperwork, make sure that the apprentice is doing X, Y, and Z, you know. It's still paperwork, but I will tell you that Mark Googe is really the paperwork man, if that makes you happy. So.
There was one other thing I was gonna say, I don't know what it was. But, I think it's a good deal, like I said. Oh, I was gonna say, we probably, a lot of municipalities, I talked to Mr. Millings about this specifically, sort of updated, because our personnel policy doesn't have anything about apprentice, and what they could expect. It's gonna be interesting because we will have some people, I mean, we have open positions, like in Shane's case. Those people will be hired on, and they're on the job training, their education are part of the job. There'll be other people, for example, Leslie's apprentice in finance, who will just be an apprentice while she's in this program, but not really a full-time benefited position. So we will have to look at that and maybe do an update on the personnel policy, just to put in some language about how we treat apprentices and what benefits they get, they don't get, that sort of thing. But
And you may have said, Katie, but when's the deadline for the submittals?
So we kind of gave a hard deadline for these guys for Friday, just for the job descriptions. That's all they're doing. So they're going to submit those tomorrow, hopefully, to Charlie, but that's just like stage 1. That still has to go to Raleigh. That's going to be a long time that they vote on that pathway. And then once they approve a pathway, then it comes back to us, and then we'll get some training on how to start that apprenticeship. So really, if you're good with them submitting those just job descriptions, then we can start that process of getting approval.
Have they give you any type of time frame as to when you'll
Well,
hear
I
back?
can tell you,
on-
I've had these meetings already. Me and Dana have gone to Avery Mitchell, DNC, government, and Banner Elk started the process. We met with them in December. So Banner Elk, Newland, and Boone started in December, and they're already been approved for their pathways, and they've already picked their Excellency doing a lot of what Shane would like too, and Leslie. So, these are already pathways that Charlie, other places are going and doing. They send us other people's job descriptions that have already created them, and we're just editing it to make it better for Burnsville or Yancey County. Yancey County's the county government has about 8 pathways that they've sent in to get approval for, but basically the same thing. So, this money it's great for us. I'm pushing it.
Anybody else have any questions for Katie or Heather?
Great,
I've got a little fact sheet here. I'll give you guys later if you want to look at it.
great, bro.
I guess we need to make a motion to
Yeah, just make a motion to approve submitting the job description for the pathways.
So I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
all in favor.
Sounds like great opportunity.
And the last thing I have is the tax report. I think that Chad handed that out to you all. And I have to report to you that outstanding from the 2020 levy of $851,711.16. Just for real property, that what's left unpaid is $76,345.87. So I think that's pretty good when the levy went out 1st of September, and we're under 10% owed, both real and personal property at this point. And then I have the resolution that I will need a action on, ordering the advertising of the delinquent real estate property as a tax lien in the paper, and that'll come out in March.
I have a motion to advertise the delinquent taxes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Motion carries.
I'm done.
All right, thank you, Heather. Mr. Fox, the clerk's update.
I've just got a few things for you real quick. The first one being the 23 events on the square. For approval, these are the events that we bring before you about this time every year. The first list on the handout that I give to you is the ones we pretty much sponsor every year. The only thing unusual on that is the new edition of the First Friday Market. And she's already submitted her packet with the dates. And the only thing she'll be requesting will be the stage. And then I've got a packet for the Burnsville Metric. And that's everything I've got up to this point. And if you've got any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer them. Just need approval for those.
Motion to approve the calendar.
Second.
All in favor?
Brian, can I ask real quick, we've got road closures for several of these. Will they allow us to do, DOT allow us to do just like one?
No.
They gotta be in.
When I ask,
Specific.
because they want to review each one to make sure there's not a particular conflict with that particular day, so.
Okay. So the first one needs to be on the March agenda. Will that give us time?
Yeah, but it should be the Fit Families 5K is usually our first closure, and it's in April.
Yeah, April 22nd.
Is that right? Yeah.
Okay.
The next item with our meeting, we have a joint meeting next week with High Country and the county, and they put out an agenda for that. I just wanted to give that to you so you could take a look at what's coming up and prepare and inform you of what all will be. It's a little bit of a long meeting, but that'll give you an idea of what all will be reviewed. And the last one is a list of free classes offered by the school government. It's the local Elected Leaders Academy, and I can help get you registered. I've got profiles on pretty much everybody, and a few of you have even been registered for some of these. If you're interested, I want to make sure you had a list you could take with you and think about it, and let me know if you'd like me to sign you up. And that's all I've got.
Thank you, Chad. Mr. Shane Dale with Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really don't have anything to update on, other than we've been working on a lot of this stuff for some of these up-and-coming projects, and
We don't have any doom and gloom to spread this go around, and we're just, for the most part, keeping the water inside the pipe, so that's a plus. So,
In most places.
pretty much it, yeah, in most places.
All right.
That's about all I've got.
Thank you, Shane. Leslie's unable to be with us tonight. She did provide the budget versus actual. Everyone had a chance to look over that. Is there anything else you wanted to report on?
She didn't leave me with anything. We reviewed it and
There's a handout also that might have some additional information.
yeah, her graphs that she does typically on the revenues and expenses should be on the back of the overtime report.
Mr. Howell's unable to be with us as well. I don't know, Shane, do you have anything to report on the fire department?
Not really, we got, we'd had engine 1101 in the shop for, pretty close to about 5 weeks so far. We got it back the other day, yesterday actually, me and Miles went out there and picked it up. I think we still may have an issue or something, but it is functioning the way it's supposed to. I think we still may have something going on, but everything else is pretty much about the same. I don't really recall what the call volume was this go around. Well, I need to recall what it is. Let's see.
If you want to.
Well, I don't need to. Life's good. You've got it. So I think that's pretty much it for the fire department too.
Thank you, Shane. Chief Buchanan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The police department report, y'all have our activity log for the year, or our percentages. The only real update I have, I did get a notice today. Heather asked me a bit back about our vehicle we ordered forever ago. The latest update they've given us is April, I guess with the delays of everything, but it is still showing ordered and hopefully on its way. We could use it, but that's the only update that I have as far as anything police-wise. And as far as zoning code enforcement, we haven't really had. We haven't even had a complete planning board meeting since the last time we met, so nothing really to report there either.
Thank you, Brian. Mr. Corbin, or the town center?
As always, everything's going great. We came out of January, it was pretty busy, and right back into it. Tomorrow, actually, I'm setting up for, well, tonight I'll be setting up for receptions. We had a large event last week and right back into another one this week. And then, as Lucy had mentioned, we have Hot Fest soon coming for February 11th. And then the rest of February is looking pretty good so far. And big pickup in phone calls, had a lot of phone calls lately, starting to pick up throughout the rest of the year. So it's going wonderful so far.
Thank you, Corbin. Council members' reports, anyone have anything they want to report on? All right, economic development, Jamie is not with us. Do you have anything to report from them? Just
No, the EDC board will meet Monday, and I anticipate that discussion around the director's position will take place then. So you may have more of an update next month.
I would like to say, just to add to what Danny said, in my short time of being here, 5 years, however long it's been, it's definitely been a pleasure to work around Jamie. He makes everyone look good when he's in the room, and he's definitely going to be missed in that capacity for sure. I know a lot of people in the audience has worked with him as well as council members and staff, so he's very good at what he does. He's going to be greatly missed for sure. Ms. Christie with the chamber.
Thank you guys for having me again. I will say I'm definitely going to miss Jamie, and maybe not miss following him, at these meetings, but I've provided you guys all with the Chamber of Commerce annual report from 2022. We started off the year this year with our gala and silent auction, and I reported on the progress of the Chamber over 2022. We met or exceeded all the goals we set for the year, increasing membership, expanding programming, and diversifying our revenue streams. Also, in 2022, I started leading a task force for building outdoor communities in partnership with Mountain BizWorks to plan for outdoor infrastructure that will help take Yancey County into the future and strengthen our tourism. This month, we've got a downtown promotional event that is Sweetheart Stroll on the 11th. Business After Hours is out at Dark Sky Wood Design on the 16th, and Queen Bee Catering will be catering that event for us. So I'd love to have any of you guys there. And our business education breakfast will be on the 23rd, and we'll be doing a program on Instagram and doing reels. Definitely would love to see anybody at those events. Finally, the Chamber's going to start working on a strategic plan and some mission alignment in the upcoming months. And I think next month I'm supposed to be on the agenda giving the presentation I'll be giving at the County Commission meeting on what happened in tourism and what I did for tourism in 2022. So that's the Chamber. Questions? Comments?
I think so.
Next year, I hope I see you guys all at the annual gala, because it was spectacular. With any luck, it'll be just as good. So.
I was on duty, or I would have been.
Okay.
We'll talk to Chad too about maybe getting you pushed ahead of EDC.
I started saying on the agenda, maybe you get that.
Yeah. No, thank you for your report, Chris.
How will that work out with the county, hire the planner and then kind of go with EDC like it did with June?
That's not been
Not been discussed
figured
yet.
out yet. Not been figured out.
Coming to a channel near you.
Yeah.
All right. Mr. Wheeler, do you have anything to report from High Country?
They did not meet this last.
All right. No further business.
I would ask Heather for one little deal. The agriculture center down there where the farmer's market is, they keep putting plastic on that wood pile and the wind tears it up and that wood's gonna be warped. I don't know if that's whose job that is.
It's the
I'll reach
county.
out to somebody.
Yeah.
I keep thinking they're gonna start that project.
What?
soon.
And that wood's not gonna stand much longer. Cause they put it in the mud hole to start with.
I don't even know who has that contract. It's all county.
It's Edwin. I mean, Trevor Banks.
Are they doing the
They're gonna do the
pavilion
building?
part?
I'm pretty sure, I mean, that's who I've seen down there.
I know they're doing the building, but I didn't know they were doing the pavilion. I don't know who's, I don't know. We'll find out.
I'll ask some questions.
Okay. I hate to see that wood go to waste.
Any further business from anyone? All right, thanks to everyone for coming. Our next meeting will be on March the 2nd. Have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.